Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be playing Salerno 43 from GMT Games. I'm going to be doing the Operation Avalanche scenario, which is only the 8-turn scenario, so I should be able to get this done in an afternoon, I think, because that's one of the great things about these Marksmanich 40 series games, like Stalingrad 42 and Holland 44 and all, is the rulebook's only like 20 pages, and it really lets you just get into the game and start moving counters around, and doesn't get you bogged down in minutia. It just lets you get down there and start pushing stuff around. And so, for example, even the counters, they have like the actual hex that they get set up in on the counters. So you can play a few turns, decide you don't like how that turned out, and within 5 minutes, basically, you got everything right back to where it was at the beginning for the invasion, and you can just start playing again. So there's a lot to like about this series and about this game. I think this is the first of 3 planned linked games for the Allied invasion of Italy. So we'll have to wait for the other 2, but for now, this is a pretty good entry. Even though the rules are only 20 pages, I will guarantee you get at least 1 or 2 rules wrong, but it's more about, getting it on the board, playing around with it, and having fun. And at the end of the day, I think that's what counts. But that being said, if you do see me messing up anything, please let me know so that other people watching don't make my mistakes and I can not make that same mistake in the future. So without further ado, let's go ahead and invade Italy with the Allied Fifth Army, which consists of a couple of Commonwealth divisions. We have the 56th Infantry Division and the 46th Infantry Divisions from the British. And then we have the 36th U.S. Infantry Division, followed up by the 45th Division, Infantry Division. And then defending the Salerno beachhead is the 16th Panzer Division. They're pretty light and pretty spread thin, so the first couple of turns are going to be hard for the Germans to really contest the landing. I think in the scenario book, it says that the Allies only encounter resistance on Uncle Beach, and so when we look on the invasion chart, which we roll when we land everybody, only Uncle Beach has a possibility of step losses. Everyone else lands unopposed, and we get right stuck into it. So basically, as I just mentioned, each beach, and so here we also have Darby's Rangers, 3 battalions worth of them, and 2 battalions worth of British Commandos. So everybody that's landing gets a roll on the invasion combat results table, and that tells you how many hexes they get to advance. The only one that really matters are the commandos. We want to get a advance 2 result on them so that they can land in Vietri sul Mare and then attack Salerno with its variable strength unit. And so what happens when you have a variable strength unit with the question mark, we come onto this chart and roll a die, and that tells you what the defense strength is for the unit. And if it's a 0, then the unit is basically automatically destroyed. So that's really the only one where the result really matters. Obviously, we don't want step losses on Uncle Beach, but that's a little bit more bearable than not taking Salerno on turn 1. Because if we don't take Salerno on turn 1, the Germans can reinforce it, and then it makes it that much harder for the commandos to actually take it. And we'll have to wait probably for the infantry divisions to get up there. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll some stuff on the... I'll only do the Rangers, I think, and the Commandos, and then I'll roll everybody else off screen. So for the Rangers first, we roll them. So a 3, that means they get to advance 2. So they take the port of Maiori, and then they advance 1 more. And they get a victory point for that, the Allies do. And now the commandos, they roll a 4, which is enough for the advance 2. So they land in Vietri, and then they're going to advance after combat, basically, is what happens, and they're going to attack Salerno. So now we roll to see what the strength of that unit is. A 1 means that the strength is 0 and the unit is automatically destroyed. So the commandos move into Salerno and they capture it, earning the Allies 2 more victory points. And now they're going to have to brace for the German counterattack because we know it's coming. And I'll go ahead and roll for everybody else and bring you back to show you what the invasion looks like after all that happens. So the British up here around the Montecarino airfield, the units that land on Sugar Beach got advanced too and were able to capture that. Everyone else just landed on the beach, and underneath all these stacks we see that there's a beachhead marker, and that's what gives us supplies. And the Germans, in an ideal world, want to destroy those units, but obviously it's going to be hard to get to them because we have to get through the entire stack of infantry units on top of it. The Americans only got an advance 1 result, so they just landed on the beach, and now they're just hanging tight waiting for the next turn in order to get off the beachhead. So the turn 1 sequence of play, I should mention, there's the invasion combat phase, which we just did, and now the German player turn, and he gets a normal turn except the movement restriction, which is everybody gets half movement. So it kind of reflects the unpreparedness of the Germans for the invasion. So the Germans do get 2 reinforcements. They get the recon battalion from the Hermann Göring division, Panzer division, and a Fallschirmjäger battalion. The Fallschirmjägers come in from the south, and the Hermann Göring recon division comes in from the north. And so basically what we're going to do, the Germans get 2 of these truck markers. So we get to load up units into trucks, and that gives them 5 extra movement points. And so what happens is the Fallschirmjägers have a movement of 3, halved, rounded up, is 2, and then the movement points for the truck are 5, halved is 3. But then you get to do extended movement and add 3 to your movement, basically, if you end your movement not in an enemy zone of control. So the extended movement for the Fallschirmjägers, oops, sorry, it's not in focus, would be a 6, halves would be 3, plus the 3 of the truck gives us 6 mechanized movement points. And as you'll see on this road here that goes into the town of Eboli, that road goes all the way out to the southern map edge. And you can kind of see, yeah, you can see the 5 here, and in Eboli there's a 6. And that's because on the terrain effects chart, you'll see that primary roads cost 1/3 of a movement point for mechanized units, which the designers know is hard, or not hard, it's just inconvenient to keep track of. So these numbers, the 5 and the 6, tell you that from the southern map edge, a mechanized unit would spend 5 movement points to get here, and to get to Eboli, they would spend 6 movement points. So basically all that to say, since the Fallschirmjäger battalion in its truck mechanized movement would be able to use its even on half movement, would be able to get to Eboli. So the Fallschirmjägers, who is this? This is the 1st Battalion of the 3rd Fallschirmjäger Regiment, is now in Eboli. And coming in from the north is going to be the Hermann Göring Recon Battalion, and we're just going to put them in Nocera Inferiore so that the Rangers can't just come up and capture this town and kind of cut us off from everybody. And you're just going to have to take my word for it that we have enough movement points to get there, because I don't feel like moving the camera for that. So that's the German reinforcement movement completed. Now we have to start thinking about what kind of movement we want to do with our 16th Panzer Division units that we have on the beachhead. The Allies haven't really put themselves out there anywhere. They haven't really extended themselves that would make it easy for us to counterattack. Okay, so we haven't really done much. We're not going to attack the beachhead because these beachhead markers allow you to pull in defense points basically of neighboring hexes. So if we attack, if we attack this hex, it's going to get bonus points basically from this hex. So it's not really worth. If these units had moved off, I think we would have attacked, but since they're with the beachhead marker, it's not really worth attacking. So what I did was we reunited the 2 battalions of the 79th, I don't know, I guess they're mechanized infantry or Panzer Grenadiers, whatever they'd be called, regiment. So those 2 battalions are reunited there. And then I brought up this variable strength unit. This one actually has movement, and the Allies won't know how much strength that has until they attack it. It's just kind of something to annoy them. It's not obviously posing a real threat, but it will hopefully keep them pinned in for a little bit in the beachhead area. And then we move the Kampfgruppe Recon Kampfgruppe up here from the 16th Panzer Group Division. Outside Salerno, but they're not really strong enough to attack. Even if we sent these Panzergrens up there, I don't think it's enough to attack because infantry gets double defense points in cities. So, yeah, for now, as you'll probably discover, I'm not very aggressive, at least not initially, especially when I'm recording, because I don't want to make a huge blunder, then have the playthrough be over in turn 2. So anyway, now we remove the markers, and that's the German turn complete. And now, as you'll see for the turn 1 sequence of play, the Allied players get a full turn 1. Same, that's just like a regular turn in any other game turn. So they get these follow-on wave units, and basically each beach head unit. So Sugar Beach is now closed. So we only have Uncle and Roger left open, and then we have red and blue down here with the Americans. And basically each beach can handle 3 landing points, and landing points are based on how many steps the landing unit has. So for example, this 143rd Infantry Regiment of the 36th Infantry Division has 3 steps, so that's the only unit that can land on Red Beach this turn. And then these 3, this Tank Destroyer Battalion, Tank Battalion, and the Headquarters Unit are all basically 1 landing point, so they'll come in on Blue Beach. And same thing up here. So 46th Division, 46th British Infantry Division, you'll see is up here on Uncle Beach, so we'll let them follow through with their units. And then the 56th Division, you'll see landed on Sugar and Roger, so I'll land that unit, that brigade, on Roger. Okay, here we are at the end of the Allied movement phase. So we've landed everybody. We didn't move the Rangers just because they don't really, they're not going to be able to really threaten anything yet. Historically, they held the Chiunzi Pass, which is up in here, and they'll come into play later if we get a breakout from Salerno. But for now, they're holding down the northwestern flank of the Allied invasion. The commandos remain in Salerno. And I should also mention on turn 1, the Allies only get tactical movement, so they can only move 1 or 2 hexes, which is why these 2 brigades, or I guess that's the 5th Hussars and the 128th Brigade of the 46th Infantry Division of the British, only couldn't quite get into Salerno, so they're just south of town and supporting. The 40th Royal Tank Regiment and a couple of infantry brigades, I think, are going to be doing some combat against this Panzergren battalion, and I'm thinking about having the Royal Scots Greys tank regiment and then the supporting infantry attack Battipaglia. That'd be really clutch if we could get in there. And the Germans won't benefit from their tank shift. Well, the tank shift would be canceled out, but there's no tank shift in there. And yeah, so this chunky brigade, though, this Guards Brigade, I think it is, the 201st Guards Brigade, couldn't, that's as far as it can get. And so these are all forming Zachbons, obviously protecting the beachheads. And then the Americans just kind of stepped off their initial landing site, and we're thinking about attacking from this little town that's down here that I can't say, Paestum. And they're thinking about attacking from there into this little stack here. We'll see. But for now, they're just protecting the flank while the infantry is going to be going up and trying to take Adavilla and Eboli. So now we're at combat. Let's see what the British can do up here. So we just add, it's pretty simple. Add up the attack, add up the defense, make a ratio, check for modifiers, roll a dice, and Bob's your uncle. So we have 2 plus 6 is 8 on the offensive side for the British. And defending, we have the German 3. However, you'll see that Hill's defense strength is ×2, and tank shift is not possible. So that's a 6 as well. So we're at a 1-to-1 on the ratio so far. But what the British are going to do, I believe, we're gonna use our sea fires as air support, and we can't use the naval support because it's 3 hexes from a non-playable sea hex. So we only get the sea fires. And so far, the British have not landed any of their ASUs, or basically their headquarters, artillery support units. And that is, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Brigade, I didn't land him. So yeah, as I was saying, sorry, we can't use the Task Force 85 naval supports because it's more than 2 hexes away. So we look at the attacker shifts. We get the air support for the one right. We don't have any elite units. The defender shifts, none of these apply. So we're on the 2-to-1 column after all that. Sorry, usually it goes by much quicker, but we're on a 2-to-1 column now. We just roll and see what the result is. That's not good. 2-to-1 is an exchange. So we tells you, has all the explanations what everything is. Both sides lose 1 step. The unit selected is determined by the opposing player. No retreat for the defender. So simple enough. The Panzergrens lose a step because that's the only one there. So they lose their elite status, which is pretty clutch for the British. And I think the Germans will choose the 40th Royal Tank Regiment as their as the British step loss. Since we don't have our artillery support down and we used our sea fires, I don't think we're going to attack Battipaglia yet. We're going to wait until this chunky brigade can get up there to support us, because the Panzergrens here will definitely, well, they'll get double defense strength because they're in a city. And yeah, I think we did okay with that first attack. Well, we didn't do okay. We didn't succeed, so let's not get too crazy now. And I don't think the Americans are going to attack down here either. Everything's going okay for them. We're not pressured or not on time clock or anything. So yeah, let's just end turn 1. Everything's good. Everything's gravy. And let's just go to turn 2. So the first thing we have to do in the sequence of play is roll for weather. And that's on the weather chart here. So we roll 1 die and it's a 6. So we move it 2 to the right. Uh-oh. That's not good for the Allies. This is the only the only weather result where the Germans get their 10th Flieger Corps air support, and the Allied air support is not available. And the Allies do get both their naval units. The Allies only get 1 supply point. The Germans get 2 supply points, which is how you resupply your artillery. So this is going to be clutch for the Germans if they can figure out a way to use their air support, or maybe they want to reserve it for the +1 on their determined defense in the Allied turn. So we recorded our supply points and we readied our air and naval units. So now we go to the initial phase and place our reinforcements. And let me tell you, the Germans get a whole boatload of reinforcements this turn. So they get from the north, they get the Hermann Göring ASU, or headquarters unit. They get a mechanized infantry battalion from the Hermann Göring division, and they get a Stug battalion from the Hermann Göring division. And then they also get from the north a battalion of Panzergrenadiers from the 15th Panzer Grenadier Division. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring them in from, I'm going to put them up north, I should say, and we'll bring them in on the movement phase. And then in the south, though, we get a whole bunch of other units. So we get a regiment of Panzer Grenadiers from the 29th Panzer Grenadier Division and the 29th Panzer Grenadier Division's headquarters. And also the 79th Panzer Corps headquarters, ASU unit, and one of these variable strength mobile units that we can just kind of throw around here in the south to kind of just be annoyance the Allies and delay them as long as possible and free up hopefully some other units to be more mobile. So those are the German reinforcements for turn 2. And we don't have to flip any ASUs with supply points because we didn't use any last turn. So we go right into the movement phase. So first we'll move in our reinforcements. What we're going to do with these 2 mechanized, well, it's 1 mechanized regiment, 2 battalions worth, is we're going to move them via this road to the 5, because that's where they get mechanized, but then they get their extended movement, and we're going to move them into Altavia, and we're going to move their headquarters unit with them. So now the advanced elements of the 29th Panzer Grenadier Division are holding Altavia. And we're going to put the 76th Panzer Corps headquarters here in Serre. And last but not least, the mobile or variable unit, we're going to put somewhere down here. Let me do some counting real quick. Okay, so with his extended movement, we got the variable strength unit to Castel San Lorenzo, and he'll just be hanging out here. And I think we're going to use these 2 variable strength units to get on either side of Monte Soprano and kind of just contest, hopefully, the Allied flank here and prevent them from coming around. So yeah, that's the southern reinforcements done. Now let's look to the north. So this is kind of one of those things where, again, even though there's not many rules, there's a lot of thinking to be done, and it's tactical thinking and not rule thinking, which is great, because there's this thing where you have to have a main assault force, where you have to choose which formation is going to be leading the assault, and all the units in that attack have to be from that formation except for 1, basically. So right now the Germans have the Hermann Göring Division, the 16th Panzer Division, and then coming in we also have the 15th Panzer Grenadier Division. And so we'd like to put all those units to attack Salerno, but we can't use all 3 of those divisions in one attack. So I'm thinking we use the Hermann Göring Division because they have the most units so far, and maybe supported by the Recon Kampfgruppe from the 16th Panzer, or maybe we move him with his units and bring in the 15th Panzer Grenadier Battalion up there to attack with us, even though it's weaker. So let me think about that, and I'll bring you back to show you how we moved everybody. Okay, this is the situation in the north. So we decided we put the Hermann Goering Division's headquarters in Nocera Inferiore, and we're going to be making our assaults with Hermann Goering and the 16th Panzer, with the 15th Panzergrenz basically protecting the headquarters unit and making sure the Rangers don't do anything silly. So yeah, let's go ahead and, well, we have to finish our movement first, but we will probably be assaulting Salerno before the British can reinforce it. And I also moved this Panzer Grenadier Battalion out of the way of the British, and because they're not going to be doing any good there. So hopefully we can at least keep it alive until we get a replacement point. Now let's go to the south and see what the rest of the 16th Panzer Division is going to be doing. Okay, so on second thought, what we did was we continued this reduced battalion, came around and got into Battipaglia. Right, hope it will do a little bit more good than just hanging out here, even though that definitely does open up this line of advance for the British. But hopefully they'll just kind of get stuck in the hills. I wanted to move the Fallschirmjägers into Battipaglia, but because we advanced the rest of our units to attack this American hex, we left open this area, and basically this brigade can go 1, 2, 3 and then attack Eboli. So if we leave Eboli unprotected, you can best believe that the British are going to try attacking. They might still try attacking it anyway. Who knows? So yeah, like I mentioned, 16th Panzer, elements of 16th Panzer Division are going to be attacking elements of the 36th American Infantry Division. And also, okay, so we're going all in. Might not be the best idea, but we moved the 16th Panzer Division's headquarters, or ASU, down to join this Panzer IV Company and to provide artillery support. We left Eboli kind of just by itself with the Fallschirmjägers, but we'll still be able to support Battipaglia from this hex with the headquarters unit. And we'll also be able to support, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, with the 76th Panzer Corps ASU. So we're well covered there. And we don't forget, we also have the Flieger Corps to support this attack. So anyway, all that to say, let's go ahead and make this attack. So we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12 to 6, so it's 2-to-1 odds from the start. We have the tank shift for the 1 right. We'll use our air support. We'll use the air support for another 1 right. So we're at a 4-to-1. Do I want to? Yeah, I think we have. Well, we might as well. We'll never know when we're going to get this kind of chance again. So we'll fire our 16th Panzer ASU. So we're at the 5-to-1 column now, which are really good odds for the Germans. Well, it's good odds for anybody. So, oh, that's about as good as it gets. So defender shattered means that the defender loses 1 step. The unit selected is determined by the attacker. Surviving defenders must retreat 4 hexes and are marked in full retreat. No determined defense is possible. And we get to advance 4 hexes. So I'll go ahead and show you what that looks like. But basically, the unit can stop on the beachhead marker for its retreat. So it doesn't have to like retreat into the sea or something, which is nice. So yeah, I'll go ahead and take care of that, and I'll bring you back to show you what it looks like after the Germans advance and do all their stuff. Okay, so the Germans selected the reduced infantry battalion to take the step loss. Everybody's marked in full retreat. And then for their advance after combat, the Germans just retreated up the beachhead. And now they have a nice sock bondage on the beachhead that is going to be hard for the Allies to break through, I hope. But that's the southern part of the combat completed. Now let's go see if we can mimic that result in Salerno. So the Germans have 4, 7, 9, 11 attack, and the British have 8 because it's doubled in the city hex, so it's a 1-to-1 odds. Up here we're gonna shoot off the Hermann Goering ASU, so we're at 2-to-1 now. And the tank support doesn't happen because we're in the city hex. We already used our air support, just used our division artillery support, and we have an elite unit, a lot of elite units attacking, so that's another +1 or right shift. So we're on a 3-to-1 odds column. Ooh, a 5 on 3-to-1 is A1 D1. So both sides lose a step, and we get to, or each side gets to choose. So we'll take it off of this Hermann Goering Panzer Grenadier, and we'll just take it off 41 Commando because it loses its only step. And now the remaining units can either retreat 2 hexes and become disrupted, or become a determined defense. So the Commando is now in their determined defense. They're elite. We are going to use the Task Force 85 naval support to get them, so they got a +2 now, you see on the determined defense table. And we're on the city column. 3 is going to be nobody loses any kind of steps, and it's a partial success. So basically we get a city marker, and all further results are going to be delay, which basically means it doesn't allow huge advance after combats, but we don't really need to worry about that right now. What we do need to worry about is that the British have held on to Salerno by the skin of their teeth. I also believe the Allies get another victory point because they captured this town down here. So yeah, that's the German combat completed. Now we go to recovery phase. We rally units, remove replacement markers and truck markers, etc. Except there's no German disordered markers or disrupted markers, so we just go to check supply. Everybody's in supply, and now we can flip ASUs with supply points. So we're going to spend those 2 ASU points that we got this turn. We're going to flip the 16th Panzer Division's ASU and the Hermann Goering Division's ASU. And so yeah, that's the German turn complete. And now we go to the initial phase for the Allies, and their reinforcements this turn are going to be coming out of the floating reserve. So here's the wave that we're bringing in. We're bringing in the 139th Infantry Brigade onto Uncle Beach, and then 3 ASUs from the 56th Infantry Division, 46th Infantry Division, and 10 Corps are going to be landing on Roger Beach. And then for the Americans, the 179th Infantry Battalion of the 45th Division, and then a reduced Infantry Battalion and an Engineer Battalion are going to be coming in on Blue Beach. And their job is basically going to just be to protect the southern flank of the beachhead so that these units can really get off the beach and organize themselves. So for movement, first thing we definitely want to do is move these 2 units into Salerno to support the commandos there. And we're going to move, these 2 are 56th Division. We're going to want them to come down here, probably come this way, I think, to help take Battipaglia and then maybe later Eboli, but we want to keep them together because, again, that main assault force thing. So we're just going to move 1, 2, 3. I'll go ahead and pause it and bring you back to show you so you don't have to watch me counting. Okay, here's what the Commonwealth forces look like. So basically, we are keeping 46th Division in the Salerno area while we shifted down the 56th Division infantry units into this stack to join the attack on Battipaglia. The Royal Scot Greys we brought down to join the 201st Guards Brigade to maybe gonna think about it, doing an attack on this Panzer IV company, and maybe hopefully open up the road to Eboli. And so yeah, that's the Commonwealth position movement completed. Now let's kind of get down here to the Americans and see what they're gonna do. Okay, so the Americans sent the engineer battalion to cover off this area. Eventually the Americans, what turn? Turn 6 and turn 8, I believe, get some airborne drops, and I think that's what we're going to use to secure this area. But for now, they also sent up elements of the 36th Infantry Division and the 191st Tank Battalion. So, think about attacking these units of the 16th Panzer. And I guess since that's the movement phase complete, let's go ahead and see. Do we want to... I don't think we have to... I mean, we do want to start attacking, I think, before the German reinforcements can come and before they can really set up a defensive line. So let's first go ahead and see if we can attack this Panzer company. So we have the Royal Scots Greys are 3 plus the 5 of the 201st Guards Brigade. So that's 8 for the British. And then 4 defense for the Germans. So it's a 2-to-1 odds. We're in the open, so there's no terrain modifiers. And this is where it gets oppressive for the Germans, because the Commonwealth just has so many ASUs that it can shoot off. So we'll fire the 56th Infantry Division because we have a 56th Infantry Division Brigade attacking. So we're at 3-to-1 now. No tank shift. We don't have any unused sea fires to use. We could use the core artillery, but I think we're going to save that for Battipaglia. So we're on a 3-to-1 now column. So let's see what we roll. 6, so as good as it gets on the 3-to-1. So D1 is the defender loses a step, surviving defenders must retreat 3 hexes and become disrupted. So the tank company loses a step and has to retreat 3 hexes, so we'll just... Okay, so the Germans retreat to Eboli, and because they can stop in a friendly controlled city hex, which it is. So those units are disrupted. The Royal Scot Greys and the infantry battalion, or brigade, sorry, hop into the vacated hex. There is advance after combat. I think it's 3 hexes with his mechanized and 2 with his non-mechanized, but I don't see where we want to go. I mean, we're kind of out there on our own anyway, open to a counterattack, so let's just leave them there. Now for Battipaglia, let's see what happens if we attack them. So we have 5, 6, 7, 10 for the British. And now we have double, we have to remember to double the infantry units. So 6, 10, 12. So it's a 1-to-1. No elite shift or tank shift for the attacker. Or defender for that matter. And I think we're going to fire off the core ASU. So we're at 2-to-1 now. Let's see if we can get something at least a little favorable. And that's not at all favorable. Attacker loses 1 step. We'll take off the 70 Bravo. I have to look up what 70B stands for. Infantry battalion. That's not what we wanted, but again, look, we have a couple of big chunky units coming off the beachhead, so we should be fine. And I think that's the Allied attacks complete. So now we go to recovery phase. And the only thing we have to recover is these full retreat guys go down to disrupted. And that's the only rally we have, I believe. Yep. And now we check supply. Everybody's fine on supply. And conduct isolation, flip ASUs with support. So we'll spend our 1 support point to flip 10 core, I think, because that's the most useful. It applies to more units. And that's the Allied turn 2 complete. Motoring right along, we go to turn 3. So in this turn, the Fallschirmjäger unit up here in Torre Annunziata gets released. And now we roll for weather like usual. Oh, out of the tray. So 2, you'll see, moves us 1 to the right. So no German Flieger Corps this time. And actually the Germans, now that we're not, actually Battipaglia is still within 2 hexes. Once the Americans or the Commonwealth gets the Germans away from the Monte Corvino airfield, the Germans can no longer use their air support. And to do that, they have to have no German units within 2 hexes of it. So theoretically, the Germans could still use their air support, but not this turn. So available air units, the British get their air unit back, and the British and the US get their naval support. Allies get 2 supply, and the Germans get 1 supply. So that's the weather phase complete. Now we go into the German initial phase. So for turn 3, yet again, the Germans get a whole bunch of reinforcements. So as you see, this is better than me holding in my hand, I think, hopefully. We get some more from the 15th Panzer Grenadier Division, including a Stug company, or battalion, I guess it is. We get a Nebelwerfer. God, in my mind, that's one of those words that I can say perfectly in my head, but I can't say it when I'm on camera. The 14th Panzer Corps ASU, another Panzer Grenadier Battalion from the 29th Panzer Grenadier Division, and an armored recon battalion from the 26th Panzer Division coming in from the south. And again, that's annoying because of the main attack force thing. So now we have 3 divisions in the south that we have to figure out how to make best use of. We don't have to flip any ASUs, and we don't have any replacements this turn, so we go right into the movement phase. And we'll start by bringing stuff in from the north. So in case you forgot, here's the situation in the north. I think what we'd like to do is eventually bring the 15th Panzer Grenadier Division into the attack on Salerno to free up this Kampfgruppe of the 16th Panzer to reunite with its parent formation. And then we can have the Hermann Göring Division and the 15th Panzer be the ones to assault Salerno in the counterattack. So I'll go ahead and move everybody and bring you back to show you what it looks like when that's all complete. So here it is in the north. We brought the released Fallschirmjäger Battalion down to Nocera Inferiore to cover the 14th Panzer Corps and the Hermann Göring Division's ASUs, you know, just in case the Americans get a little pesky with the Rangers. And then the 15th Panzer Grenadier Division has taken up station outside of Salerno, and the Kampfgruppe just side saddled 1 hex south to cover off this brigade. That's the northern part of the German movement complete. Now let's look to the south. All right, here's how it looks at the end of the German movement phase. So 29th Panzer Grenadier reinforcements just joined the rest of their division in Altavia, and they're holding down this, which will free up the 16th Panzer Division, I hope, which we had to move out of the Zach and only got up to here, but they're joined by the Armored Recon Battalion of the 26th Panzer Division. So hopefully we'll be able to use them in some sort of counterattack capacity. I have my eyes on the Royal Scots Greys, but couldn't quite figure out a good way to make that happen. I probably counted wrong, probably could have made that attack, but them's the breaks. That's the German movement completed. I don't know that we're doing any attacks down here. No, we're not. So the only combat's going to be up here in Salerno. So the main attack force is going to be, see, this is where it gets tricky because we have 3 forces now up here. And who do we want to use to lead this attack? If anybody, I mean, I think the 15th Panzer Grenadier is maybe the most powerful at the moment. and they have 8, 9, they have 10. We could add the 4 from the recon Kampfgruppe for 14, but then the allies are doubled in here, so there are 2, 4, 10, so they're at 18 right now. So it'd be 1-to-1. Well, we have to try it, right? I mean, it's only going to get worse for the Germans. So let's lead the attack with the 29 or the 15th Panzer Grenadier Division. So like I said, they have 6, 7, 8, 10, 14 will use the Kampfgruppe, and then 5, 10, 14, 18. Yep, let's do that. So we're at 1-to-1. No air support, no tank shift. Divisional artillery. We could see, this is where it gets tricky again, because we don't have the 15th Panzer Grenadier Division's ASU on the board yet. When do they come in? I don't even know. I don't think they do. Anyway, so we don't have them. 16th Panzer Division's ASU is disrupted, and it's way down here in Eboli anyway. So do we want to... I think what we're going to do... Oh boy, throwing everything around. So we're going to ditch the recon Kampfgruppe. So we're at 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 to... God, I'm like... So 12 to 18 is still 1-to-1 as far as my math is concerned. But including this armored recon battalion will allow us to use the Hermann Goering Division's ASU for 1 supply, or sorry, we're not doing that yet. And I guess we'll just use the core. No, we'll use the Nebelwerfer. So those two are fired for a 3-to-1 now. And we do have an elite unit for 4-to-1. So the odds are 4-to-1. It's not bad. But a 3 is not the best result we could have gotten. DRX is both sides lose 1 step. The unit selected is determined by the opposing player, and the defenders will have to do a determined defense. So I think we're going to get rid of this Hermann Goering. The British are going to get rid of that elite armored recon unit because that's giving them a elite bonus shift, and we don't want that. And same thing with the British now lose 2 commando, so they don't have that elite shift on the determined defense anymore. So they're in a city, and there's no modifier for that. But we're going to use the Task Force 85 to get our +1 for the defensive support. And now we see what kind of determined defense we got. A 5, +1 is a 6. So the defender picks an attacker step loss, and the defender loses a step, but they hold. So we're going to take this step loss, I think. It's only a 1-step unit. And now they hold, and for our second German step loss, the Stug company isn't really doing anything, but this big chunky Panzer Grenadier battalion will reduce him. So that's the defense of Salerno. It's not looking great all of a sudden for the British. I think this is one of the bloodier playthroughs I've had of this. But anyway, that's the German attacks complete. So that's the combat phase complete. Now we're recovery. Since there's nobody next to these guys, they get their disrupted marker removed. Yikes. Nobody's disrupted up here. We're going to spend 2 supply points now in the supply phase to flip Hermann Goering, ASU, and the Nebelwerfer. And yeah, that's it there. So that's the German turn complete. Now we're in the Allied initial phase for turn 3. And so we just have our floating reserve, which isn't much. We might as well just bring in what we can. So we have 2 tank battalions and a tank destroyer battalion. and 2 ASUs. So we'll just go ahead and bring the armored on Red Beach and the headquarters ASUs on Blue Beach. And the Allies now have to wait until turn 5 until we get any more reinforcements, which is kind of crazy. So that's the place reinforcements. Don't have any replacements. And now we flip ASUs with supply. We have 2 supply. Yep, we have the 56th Division here, so we'll spend 1 supply point for them. And yeah, that's the initial phase completed. Now we're in the movement phase. And now we have to figure out how we can best help these guys out. All right, here we are at the end of the Allied movement phase. I believe I haven't missed anything. So what do we want to go over here? 46th Division has geared up, hopefully, for an assault on the Kampfgruppe. They're being a pain because they're preventing these guys from getting up in there. But hopefully, with 3 units, we can at least boot them out and then get an advance after combat to reinforce Salerno. Who, yeah, I mean, they just can't really afford to lose anymore. It's a do or die kind of situation, I think. Down here, the Commonwealth units consolidated to attack Battipaglia. The Americans have moved up here to form this sort of Zoc chain and prevent the flank so that this scary looking stack can't attack the Royal Scot Greys. At least not that I can see, anyway. And yeah, then these elements of the 45th Division, led by apparently the 36th ASU. Who else is in here? Hopefully there's... Nope, it's all 45th Infantry Division. Don't know why I brought up the 36th Infantry Division ASU. Oh well, them's the breaks. I think because 45th Division just landed, maybe. Anyway, that's the movement complete. Now we have this big battle up here. We're in the combat phase. We're going to attack this Kampfgruppe. So we're going to use these 2 units for 10. They're doubled, so they're at 8. And using the 3 from the Salerno unit doesn't really accomplish anything. So we'll leave him out of the battle. So it's a 1-to-1. Now we're going to try to dump everything we can onto this attack because we really need it to succeed. So we'll attack with the Spitfires. And who else are we going to use? We're going to use the 46th Infantry Division's ASU. We'll use... Now, do we want to use 10 Corps ASU for there? So right now we're at a 3-to-1. Do we want to make it a 4-to-1? I think... I want to use the Corps ASU for here for Battipaglia, but I think right now, bigger, yeah, we're going to use Corps. So now we're at 4-to-1 and a 6. Oh, thank goodness for the Commonwealth, huh? That's a defender loses a step and the attacker gets to advance 3. So the Kampfgruppe loses a step. Where are we? Surviving defenders must retreat 3 hexes and become disrupted or conduct a determined defense. So I think, I mean, obviously it's hard. This is when it's hard playing by yourself because I want them to retreat. But if I were the Germans, I would conduct a determined defense because I know that's what's stopping us from getting into Salerno. So we'll do the determined defense, but since they lost a step, they're no longer elite, which is good. So just I went to check to see if I can use the Nebelwerfer to do this defensive support, and I read that you don't use supply points to flip the Nebelwerfer. It just automatically gets flipped as long as it's in supply. So we'll go ahead. So I gave myself another supply point back. So we'll use the Nebelwerfers to give us the +1. Now we're in other terrain. So a 2 is a nothing. So that's a failed determined defense. We now have to retreat 3 hexes. 1, 2, 3, and becomes disrupted. So that's good. Now the British get to advance 3 with, or 2 hexes with his non-mechanized units. So that's enough for this big chunky brigade to get into Salerno. So they're going to use 1 to not advance into the defender hex, and then 1 to get into Salerno. And they have to stop because if you look on the advance after combat, they stop in a hill hex, which is fine. They're at least in supporting range of Salerno now. And next turn, if we have to, we can just tack move them into there. So that's all looking good for the Commonwealth. Now I think we should attack down, should we? Let's see, we have 4, 6, 12, 3, 8, 11, 14, 16. It's a 1-to-1. We only have 1 corps, or we have a division ASU. So we're at 2-to-1. I don't know. What do you guys think? Are those good odds? I don't think so. I think we're in a good spot. We have Salerno. The Americans are finally getting rolling. We'll be able to spend at least 1 supply point at the end of this to get 10 corps back flipped over, and we'll have the Americans rallied. I hate it, but we're gonna, actually it's not going to get better. The only thing that could happen is the Germans put more units in here. We don't have anything coming till turn 5, and I'd rather be in Battipaglia than out of it. And the Americans and the Commonwealth can't attack together anyway, so we can't really ask it for help from the Americans. So let's just do it. We're at 1-to-1, spending the 56th Division ASU for 2-to-1, and I don't believe, we don't have air support, we don't have corps, we don't have elites in here. So we're just at 1-to-1. Let's see what happens. Or sorry, 2-to-1. A 4 on the 2-to-1. A1 DR2 is the attacker loses a step, the defender must retreat and become disrupted or determine defense. So we'll just take it off the top unit, I guess, here. Actually, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do this. We're gonna take out the Royal Scot Greys because they don't really contribute as much, especially once we get off the beach. Armor just isn't really effective, and it's not really effective for attacking cities anyway. So that's the attacker step loss, and now the Germans are going to conduct their determined defense with this Panzer Grenadier Battalion. So they're an elite, and we're going to spend the corps ASU to get another +1. So we're at +2 on the city column. So we're at a 7. Well, we're off the chart. So the attacker loses a step, the defender becomes disrupted, and they hold. Oops. So we'll just take it off of, I guess, this guy here. Or actually, now we're gonna leave him and remove this 1-step unit because on the back side of this, they become a low quality unit. So it's better to have, I think, that guy stay there. Again, not what we wanted. I feel really deflated as the Commonwealth player, but that's sometimes how it goes. I guess I should feel good because as the German player, I'm doing all right. Anyway, so now the recovery phase. These American units are finally not disrupted anymore. We remove replacement markers, half efficiency. Now we check supply. Everybody's in supply. We have our 1 supply point to flip 10 corps, and now we're going right back to the top for turn 4. All right, you know the drill. First phase of the new turn is the weather phase. We roll it to 6, we move it 2 right. Oh, so it's raining now. So that makes it really hard to attack. And everybody gets a 1 left column shift for attacks. So nobody gets air units, nobody gets supply, nobody gets naval units. So it's kind of a pause, which I think will benefit, well, I think both sides will feel like it benefits them. I'll get to kind of get reprieves. The Commonwealth especially will be able to hopefully consolidate up here. But anyway, first the Germans, the initial phase on turn 4. They don't get as many reinforcements this turn. They only get these 3 units, which is a Panzer Grenadier Battalion, a Stug, one Stug Battalion, and 1 Panzer IV reduced battalion for the Hermann Goering Division. So the 29th Panzergrens come in from the south, Hermann Goering comes from the north. And do we want to flip ASUs with supply? Yeah, I think we're going to flip 76th Panzer Corps for 1. And that's it for that. Now we go into our movement phase. I'll go ahead and move everybody and bring you back to show you how it looks. So I always forget this, but in the last phase, in the initial phase, the Germans do get 1 special replacement, which we're going to spend on the Hermann Goering Armored Recon Battalion that was eliminated. So it's only a 1-step unit. It's going to get placed in the hex with the Hermann Goering Division's ASU. And so yeah, otherwise German movement was pretty simple. 29th Panzer Grenadier Division stacked up in Altavia, ready for a counterattack. 16th Panzer Division, along with the Recon Battalion from the 26th Panzer Division, is stacked up outside of Eboli for a counterattack. We had to leave the disrupted unit in Battipaglia, which is unfortunate, but bringing it out and bringing it back in, I think we're just going to have to hope for a good rally roll. So yeah, that's the end of the German movement. Now in the combat, don't think we're going to do anything with the 1 left column shift. I just can't really justify it to myself, but I console myself by saying that the Commonwealth probably aren't going to attack either. So we're in the recovery phase. This unit gets recovered automatically. We remove the replacement marker. Don't think anybody else is disrupted. Nope. So now we have to do our rally table. So as you see on the rally table, 1 to 4 is no change, 5 to 6 recover 1 level. And because the unit is it occupies a city hex and it's elite, it gets +3 on this roll. 5, just barely enough to get recovered. So unfortunately for the Commonwealth, that unit is no longer disrupted. So we have 2 supply points to flip ASUs. Just have to remember to flip the Nebelwerfers, who flip automatically as long as they're in supply. And yep, that's the German turn. This one's going to be a quick one. So now we're at the Allied turn 4. Still no reinforcements, no follow-up reinforcements. So we just go straight to, we don't have any supply points either, so we just go straight to the movement phase. All right, just a pretty uneventful Allied movement. So we brought the Rangers down onto the flank of the Hermann Goering Division. That will leave us open to a counterattack through the Chiunzi Pass, but I think giving up Maori, we can retake that later. The key is to support Salerno at this point. So yep, the Rangers are brought down there. The Americans just kind of fanned out along the beach, brought their armor up, got these guys that lost that last battle, that initial battle. They're going to be going down this way. And next turn, they'll be attacking this variable strength unit. No rush to do that, I don't think. Hope not. So yeah, that's the American movement and combat phase completed. Rally, we don't have anybody to rally. We don't have any ASUs to flip because we have no supply points. And that's the turn 4 completed. And I think that's where I'm going to end this video. I don't know how long it's going to wind up being after I edit it, but it's a pretty quick game once you get into the swing of it. And if you aren't commentating and trying to record and trying not to look like a fool on the internet, you can get through this game pretty quickly. And already this is completely different from all my other playthroughs because just how dice roll work, even though I feel like I'm doing kind of the same strategy, things end up happening differently with like Salerno battles. The Germans are definitely holding Battipaglia longer than they usually do in my playthroughs. So the Allies aren't really being able to get off the starting line, it feels like. But the Americans are well concentrated. The Germans are going to have quite the uphill battle to counterattack because, as you see on turn 5, all the 40 series games have these cool little blurbs on what's happening historically. So on turn 5, September 13th, strong German attacks and the 82nd Airborne is dropped during the night. So on turn 5 and turn 6 are the main German attacks. And as you see, that's how it plays out in this scenario, because now I found, as the German player, I feel like I finally have pretty much all of the forces I'm going to get. Turn 5, we're going to get 6 more reinforcements. So I think maybe, probably turn 6 is when everybody's going to be in place and when we can finally do our counterattack. As far as victory points, the Allies, I have them at 5 victory points. Let me just count real quick. Yeah, they're at 5 victory points because they haven't captured Battipaglia or Eboli yet. So, and down here, Agripoli will capture that easily eventually, especially once the airborne landings happen there, because the airborne landings have to happen within 3 hexes of a beachhead marker. So landing them here is an easy way to just get really good units to mop up everything down here. But yeah, so that's probably what's going to happen next couple turns. So we might be on track. We're definitely not on track, I should say, for the benchmark numbers. 7, I think it expects you to have probably Agripoli and Battipaglia by now. So we're behind the 8 ball a little bit. But we just didn't get good dice rolls on the Battipaglia assaults. And the supply points being 0 definitely didn't help us. Oh, that was the other thing. The Germans getting the fleet report really kind of hampered the Allied advance through the beaches. So anyway, rambled on for a while. Hope you enjoyed that. Let me know if you saw anything that I missed, or if you think you could have done it better. Let me know what you would have done strategically or tactically that would have been better. Otherwise, I hope to see you on the next video. Bye for now.